Something attacked a man on the coast of Iceland in the 19th century. The man was alone near the water when a large humanoid creature came sprinting out of the surf directly at him. He ran. He grabbed a branch from the ground. The thing was on him fast, attacking with a violence that tore his clothes to shreds and left him badly injured. After a long, bloody struggle, he managed to land a heavy blow to its arm and broke it at the elbow. The creature howled, turned, and ran back into the sea. The man survived. He named what attacked him the sea troll. His account was documented and eventually published in a collection of Icelandic folklore. It sat in archives for decades before researchers started looking at it again. Iceland is a place where the ground moves, where fire erupts through the earth without warning, where the dark lasts 20 hours a day in winter and the sun barely sets in summer. Lava fields stretch for miles without a single tree. Black sand beaches produce waves that kill without warning. Mountains hold glacier 2,000 meters above sea level that groan and shift in ways you can hear from a distance. In a place like that, the question is not why people report encounters with something they cannot explain. The question is why anyone would be surprised that they do. Icelanders have a name for the beings that inhabit their landscape: trolls. And unlike most countries, where such creatures exist only in stories told to children, in Iceland the encounters never stopped. The foundations go back to the 9th century, when Norse settlers arrived and brought their mythology with them. They came from a world that already included giants and creatures that lived in places humans did not go. When they looked at the Icelandic terrain, they saw exactly where those beings would live. The troll mythology that developed here was specific to this place. These were not abstract spirits or distant gods. They were creatures with territories, habits, and rules. The rules were precise. Trolls operated only at night. Sunlight was lethal, turning their bodies to stone on contact. They were physically enormous, capable of pulling ships from the sea or tearing apart livestock with bare hands. They were not clever. They could be outwitted. But they could not be outrun, and they could not be fought directly. The only reliable protection was shelter, fire, and staying inside after dark. Those rules produced a landscape full of evidence. Every strange rock formation, every sea stack, every boulder sitting in a field with no geological explanation, became the remains of a troll caught by sunrise. Iceland has hundreds of these sites, each with a specific account attached to it. Off the south coast near the village of Vik, 3 massive basalt sea stacks rise from the North Atlantic. According to the preserved account, 2 trolls waded into the sea at night to drag a 3-masted sailing vessel to shore. The work was slow. They lost track of time. The light came up while they were still in the water, still pulling. The sun hit them and they froze where they stood. They are still there. People driving past the cliffs today report hearing sounds that do not match the wind or the surf. Something that does not belong to any identifiable animal. In the northwest, a 15-meter basalt monolith stands just offshore, white from centuries of bird droppings, shaped into something that looks like a large creature bent toward the water. The account attached to it is specific. A troll living in the Westfjords could hear the bells of a monastery across the bay. Icelandic trolls had no tolerance for Christian bells. This one set out at night to destroy the source of the sound. The crossing took too long. The sun found him at the water's edge. He turned to stone mid-motion, arms still raised. These are the foundation accounts. They established the framework Icelanders used to understand what shared their landscape. And that framework stayed active. The encounters continued through the 19th century, through the 20th, and they continue now. A painter and researcher named Arngrimur Sigurðsson spent years compiling documented accounts of supernatural encounters in Iceland. His work contained 32 records of creature encounters drawn from historical documents, eyewitness testimony, and what he classified as modern sightings. Each one came with a location, a witness, and enough detail to distinguish it from a story invented for entertainment. The most recent entry in his collection came from 1987. 2 men were out hunting for grouse near a volcanic lake on a peninsula south of Reykjavik. This lake is not a comfortable place. It sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge in a geologically active zone. In 2000, an earthquake drained a significant portion of the lake through cracks in the lakebed, dropping the water level by 2 meters over several years. It is a place where the ground itself is unreliable. The two hunters were near the water when they saw creatures swimming in the lake. The creatures came ashore. The men watched them rest on the bank before the creatures returned to the water. What they described did not match any animal known to inhabit Iceland. Angramur documented these as the shell monsters, named for the crunching sound the creatures reportedly made. When asked about his research, Angramur made an observation worth noting. He said that UFO sightings and alien abduction accounts share significant structural similarities with Icelandic creature encounters. Large, unidentified beings appearing in remote locations. A quality of menace that the witness cannot categorize. An experience that resists every ordinary explanation. His position was not that trolls are extraterrestrial. His position was that human beings in every era encounter things they cannot fit into existing frameworks, and then use whatever language they have available to describe what happened. In Iceland, that language has always included trolls. But the accounts themselves describe something physical. Something that moves. Something that attacks. In 1978, road construction crews working at a mountain pass in northern Iceland encountered a sustained series of accidents with no mechanical explanation. Equipment failed repeatedly. Workers were injured. The pass is named for trolls, and that name is not decorative. It marks a location where people had reported encounters for centuries. When the accidents continued, the Icelandic Road Administration brought in a seer to attempt communication with whatever was inhabiting the rock formation they were trying to blast through. The planned detonation was eventually abandoned. The administration walked away from that section of the project. That incident was not isolated. The Icelandic Road and Coastal Administration developed a formal, written media response for situations involving supernatural interference with construction. The statement acknowledges that certain sites have historically produced unexplained problems during work, and that the standard approach is to pause at that location to allow whatever is living there to relocate. This is a government document. It exists because the situation arises often enough to require a standardized response. Construction crews attempted to build through Alfhol, a small hill south of Reykjavik, in the 1940s. Funding ran out before blasting could begin. A second attempt in the following decade was stopped when heavy equipment repeatedly failed without mechanical explanation. A third attempt was made in the 1990s. Drill bits broke apart on contact with the rock without leaving a visible mark on the surface. The administration eventually built the road around the hill. Alfhol is now a protected site. In 1970, a stone was split during the construction of a bicycle path in Reykjavik. A water pipe feeding a nearby fish farm was crushed in the same project. 70,000 trout died overnight. The project was abandoned. In 2010, an Icelandic member of parliament survived a serious car accident. During his recovery, he arranged for an 18-ton boulder believed to house 3 generations of supernatural beings to be moved onto his property. He credited the beings with protecting him during the crash. He was an elected official in a modern European democracy. He moved a 30-ton boulder onto his land to honor an agreement with beings that most of the world does not acknowledge exist. In 2013, a road project was halted after a group called the Friends of Lava brought a case to Iceland's Supreme Court. Their objection included the position that construction would disturb a lava field inhabited by hidden beings and would destroy a rock formation identified as sacred ground. Protesters physically blocked bulldozers. The dispute ran for 8 years. It was resolved when a specialist in hidden being communication was brought in and the boulder was relocated in coordination with, as the parties involved described it, the beings themselves. The Icelandic Road and Coastal Administration was present throughout this process. It was not treated as a curiosity. It was treated as a negotiation with a third party that had standing. In 1982, 150 Icelanders traveled to the NATO military base at Keflavik to formally express concern that American military aircraft were endangering hidden beings in the surrounding lava fields. This drew a broad cross-section of the public and received serious coverage in the national press. In 1998, a newspaper survey found that over 50% of Icelanders believed in supernatural beings on the island. A University of Iceland survey conducted in 2007 saw that number rise to 62%, considering it at least possible. That's probably because many Icelanders continue to see beings that aren't easily explained. Hikers on the Reykjanes Peninsula report sounds coming from lava fields at night, deep, rhythmic impacts, like something heavy moving through rock. Locals in the area do not dismiss these accounts. They know the terrain. They know what the wind sounds like, what geothermal activity sounds like, and they know when something does not fit either category. Many Icelanders today claim they have seen the hidden beings or communicated with them, and those who can do so are known as elf whisperers. These individuals are consulted by private developers and local governments alike. Their reports are filed. Their assessments carry weight. Travelers driving remote roads at night, particularly in the north, around what is known as the Troll Peninsula, consistently report something that does not appear in any tour guide: the feeling of being watched from the rock faces above the road. Not menace, exactly. Presence. Something that knows you are there and is deciding what to do about it. The reports do not make national news. They do not generate investigation teams or television specials. They are absorbed into daily Icelandic life the way weather reports are absorbed as information about conditions on the ground that a sensible person takes seriously before heading out. Folklore professor Terry Gunnell at the University of Iceland has said Iceland is a place where your house can be destroyed by forces you cannot see, where the wind can knock you off your feet, where sulfur coming from your tap water tells you there is fire directly below your feet that has no visible location. The Icelandic relationship with the invisible is not superstition layered on top of ordinary life. It is a rational response to an environment where invisible forces cause real, physical harm on a regular basis. Iceland is a country where the supernatural does not exist in a separate category from the natural. It never has. The trolls of the old sagas are not confined to museum displays or Christmas markets. They are present in the land, in the decisions people make about that land, and in the accounts that keep coming in from the dark, from the lava fields, from the water's edge after sunset. Something is still out there. Iceland has always known that. Subscribe to Paranormal Depths for the strangest and most compelling cases from around the world.